Mate, you there?
The Cave was a very interesting movie, and it had an interesting premise. Here is the real, down, dirty, very short synopsis. Some people find the entrance to an undiscovered cave. They go deep down into that cave, hear some chirping noises, and something kills them. Later into the future, only our present-day people go down and realize that people had been killed down there, but it turns out that they weren't really killed. They were transformed into these creatures that now look like bats, because a parasite takes all the creatures that came down from the surface and causes them to evolve in real time very quickly to survive down there by changing them into freaking bat-like creatures. Don't really understand why if the parasite got a hold of human beings, why one of the evolutionary adaptations they'd give them are wings and a very huge skull with sharp teeth. Like, you know, why would they evolve for them to be predators when there's not even a lot of prey down there to begin with? Whatever, it's a movie. Honestly, The Descent makes way more sense. So despite the fact that we're seeing these weird, horribly mutated creatures, the star of the show is actually the cave parasite, which is capable of mutating any organism indigenous to this Romanian cave system. What it does is it wants to have a good life living inside of the creature. So it's like, you know what, I'm gonna do you a solid. I'm gonna take whatever you were and let's just like make you into something completely different. You'll never see your loved ones again. You know, just pretend you're gonna be down here forever. I'm gonna give you a freaking huge ass head so that you can have echolocation and not be able to ever see again, but at least you can sense your way around. I'm gonna give you big ass wings. I'm gonna shrink your dick and I'm gonna give you long ass legs. And there you go. I'm the Q bitch. Now you're fit for this environment. You will never ever get out, but at least you can survive down here forever. As a result, it transforms everything into a cave monster, which is so mean. Because if you look at the moles and you look at the eels and everything else that we've seen that it transforms, the scorpions, everything still looks like themselves, just like a see-through weird reversion, but you could still tell, oh, that's an eel. Oh, that's a scorpion. That's a mole. But no, the humans, that's a freaking gargoyle. Like, looks nothing like a human being. And you're like, what happened with the human? You know, why did they go ham on the humans and they didn't do that with the other creatures? Just like, really? And here's what I don't understand, right? The cave parasite mutates all these humans, but they mutate them to look exactly the same? Really? This parasite must be very intelligent, because I would think that wherever the parasite finds the human or gets into it, it's like, okay, I'm going to mutate you to survive in this part of the cave. What if it's really hot in this part of the cave? And then some other human gets infected with the parasite. It's very cold over there. Wouldn't they look sort of different? So yeah, movie stuff. Unless the specific parasite takes certain genes, just like the Monster Hunter CD thing, when you have to use the CDs to get different monsters, and this specific CD will give you this specific monster. Maybe this specific animal will only yield this specific output, which still doesn't make sense to me, because there are other things to consider with human beings as well. Each of these humans each have different ailments, allergies, and genetic makeup, so you'd think that they would look a little bit different stretching across the board, but whatever. One thing that I found very interesting though, the parasite decides that it's going to do this to help the creature survive, right? To adapt to its environment. How would they breed? Because, okay, the creature's able to survive down there. Creature has the parasite feeding off of it, and the parasite thinks, or not think, but I guess it does this so that its host can last longer, so it can last longer. It's not like it has a lot to choose from. So whatever does come down there, it has to make that thing able to live a long time as possible. But that's about it. Like, it's not like there's a lot of these things that come down here. So do they allow all the animals down there to mate with each other? If you can trick an animal's DNA and make it however you want to do it, basically terraforming every organism that comes down there like it's a planet, wouldn't you make them all capable of breeding with one another? Because then after they die, it's not like you can spread anyway. Now, it did look like in the movie, the last part, one of the monsters, and I'm guessing most of those monsters were men, one of the monsters had the female up against the rock, and he didn't eat her, he didn't claw at her until she attacked him. Looks like he was trying to mate. So is it possible for a female human being to still be impregnated by what is essentially still a human being, even though he's now a cave monster? It's such a weird movie. Like, I could understand people being locked down there and after many generations them looking like that, like The Descent, but it's just so weird that this thing, you get bitten or scratched and parasite gets inside your bloodstream, and in a few hours, you turn into a gremlin, you know? One of those outlandish sci-fi horror things. And I know it's just a movie, but I can't just help but wonder, like, what next? You know, there's not a lot of creatures that come down here, and the virus wants to survive as long as possible. Most viruses, yeah, when they're young in their stages, especially when they've just hopped over to a species, they'll kill off their host. hosts. But over time, they take their time and the host adapts. The strongest survive and those pass on those viruses. This one, unless these creatures are gonna live a very, very long time, you're still not spreading the virus. Everything down there already has it, and you want to spread more, but you know, wouldn't it make sense for you to see that this creature is not suited for life down here, so it came from somewhere else, so you adapt to live in this host without being noticed, so you can go back out there and spread more? Like I said, the virus is not intelligent. At least I don't think it's intelligent. The creatures that it affects do become somewhat intelligent, but just with primitive intelligence, which means they can be outsmarted very quickly. They're turned into apex predator. They unlock the genes inside of humans that they could have had. They are the Q from all tomorrows. They just, when it comes to human beings, it's like building a bear, right? But also near the movie, it ends up getting inside the girl, not the way you're thinking. And it's like, you know what? I like it out here. Now I can spread, which makes you wonder, is it intelligent? Is it not? Is it just a parasite as we know parasites? Or is there something more to this? After all, nobody knew about this thing. For all we know, this thing probably didn't even know about the outside world. It only thought, wow, stuff is dropped in here. Let me infect it so I can live and spread. Probably doesn't have any concept of the passage of time. So to us, it may seem as though this is very inefficient because you have long spans of time before people discover this cave again and go down there. But to it, if it's dormant or it's just living in these creatures that are down there already, these creatures are also breeding with each other. The scorpions, there's a lot of them. The moles, there seem to be a lot of them. And they're feeding on each other. So there's that. I don't know, man. Very strange, ugly ass things. They have wings, but they have long arms where they can swing across the rocks in order to traverse the caves, which is like, okay, what's the point of you having wings? You can do that? Okay, to fly from one end to the other. But they just have so many things working for them. They can swim with those wings as well. They can jump very high. It's like every possible thing you could give these things for them to be apex predators, they have. How would any other animal survive down there? You know? Not only that, you have an animal whose physical prowess is unmatched, because now that's what humans have become. Let's say it unlocked everything in us we were ever supposed to be. It also has the ability to lay traps and to steal supplies it knows its prey needs. Like humans and their rebreathers, it stole those and puts it in a place where they know that the humans will be risking their lives to get it so they can pick them off one by one. Like, really? I mean, they're sensitive to light and they can be disoriented by those sonic wave things, but that's about it. After a while, those specific technologies that you use to keep these things at arm's length, well, maybe not because they can eat you, but like 10 feet away, when those fail, when everything's battery runs out, they're still gonna get to you. And then when Cersei gets infected at the end, she seems totally fine. So this thing controls the host's mind to some degree, but what's gonna happen with her? Is she gonna turn into one of those bitch versions of the monsters? Is she gonna become the gargoyle above ground and start hanging out on buildings and mausoleums and whatnot? I can imagine people realizing very quickly that, well, this thing is not like the others, and she's gonna get captured and experimented on, which defeats the entire purpose of this thing trying to blend in. Also, if it's controlling her mind and it wants to adapt and blend in, why would it make her tell the guy,
I think it wants to get out?
you know, certain things about this movie doesn't make sense. I understand. I'm just wondering. I mean, it would be no problem if these things came out of the cave for people to shoot them down very quick. Because, you know, down there, those things evolved to be the apex predators down there. Up here, human beings, even though they're nice and squishy, all their weapons and technology make them the apex predator. Those things would die before they even get a chance to understand that this is the new world they're in. I don't know why that guy's so worried at the end, because she's not gonna have long for this world. It's not gonna take a long time for people to realize that some weird ass people are, you know, hanging around, unless this is like one of those headcanon universe things where this person goes out and breeds and now you have the X-Men. These creatures clearly can live off as little food at a time, because it's not like humans go venturing down there all the time. They kill moles, they eat them. A mole can probably last them for months. It's even possible that they can last even longer than that without food. And they're very opportunistic eaters, and so when they say something, they're gonna take advantage of it being there and feed. Even though later on they explain that, oh, they didn't eat those people, they turned them. So do they need to eat or not, you know? Despite all of that, it was a fun, adventurous movie, and it had those alien xenomorph vibes to it, which is necessary, I guess, for movies like that, for it to keep people's attention. Because if you look through everything else, it feels like a very stupid movie. If you like Pitch Black, you know, the Riddick franchise where the monsters are chasing him, xenomorphs, you'll like this too. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.